The Stalker twins, Whitaker and Adina, are now 20 months old, and their mother Shannon has high hopes for their future.
I want my children to be geniuses in their own way.
In England, 3-year-old Edward Upson lives with his 9-month-old brother Justin. Their mother Mariama is also determined that her kids will get to the very top.
I want my children to excel in life. It's every mother's ambition to have the crème de la crème.
The key to their aspirations could lie here in Philadelphia at an institution which claims to create smart babies.
Okay, we're going to do some multiplication. This is 8 multiplied by 12 is equal to 96.
There's no limit as to how much you can input into that brain. It is one big sponge that is just waiting to be fully soaked.
But recent scientific breakthroughs tell another story altogether. So, can you really make a baby smart? A newborn baby. In time, a complex mix of genetics and experience will give him a unique arrangement of skills and intelligence. Now he appears helpless and unaware of his surroundings. But inside his head, something extraordinary is happening. Billions of brain cells are reaching out to one another in a frenzy of electrical activity, forming neural networks at a rate which will never be matched in his later life. So imagine the possibilities if this explosive period of infant brain power could be manipulated to create a child of exceptional intelligence and ability. This is now being offered as a real possibility to aspiring parents, and not surprisingly, they're snapping it up.
There's an immense hunger amongst parents and teachers at the moment for information which will help children's brains develop optimally to the best possible extent. And there are lots of people around offering all kinds of responses, all kinds of advice to that hunger.
The last decade has seen massive advances in brain research. In their wake has come a multi-million-dollar industry in training aids, specialist toys, and self-help programs, promising that parents can increase their children's potential.
Hi there, I'm Harrison.
And I'm Sasha.
And as you can probably tell from our graduation caps, we're baby geniuses.
We are constantly bombarded by toys, by flashcards, by black and white mobiles, by tapes that you should play to the child every time the child goes to sleep.
It's like, this is the type of mobile you have to have from the beginning. It has to be black and white and red. The contrast is good. And then we had some pictures also that supposedly show that the babies can't see certain type of curvature, so you have to make it the right type of curvature so that it's stimulated properly.
We give Ariane a very stimulating environment with all sorts of different developmental toys, videos.
As a new parent, I sometimes fear that maybe I'm not doing enough, maybe I'm not buying enough of those products.
Parents have taken a huge interest in early brain development. It's quite obvious if you look at the internet.
There have been 3 key discoveries which have encouraged this intense interest in how to create smart babies. First, the massive growth in infancy of connections between the brain cells known as synapses. They develop at a rapid rate, but a vast number wither and die in subsequent years. So the question arises, could some of these early neural connections be saved before they perish? Second, the discovery of windows of opportunity for the development of certain skills like seeing or talking. Might there be a critical period for developing intelligence? And thirdly, the discovery that rats raised in an enriched environment actually grow bigger brains. Could this be true for young children? Together, these discoveries rekindled interest in what has become known as hothousing. For those interested in hothousing, the most famous place to go is the Better Baby Institute in Philadelphia. Here, parents come from all over the world to learn how to enhance their children's potential, physical, mental, and musical. And they start young.
We have strawberry. This says pear, peach, apple, grapes.
Tiny children can learn absolutely anything that you can present to them in an honest and factual way. Absolutely anything.
Rainbows and rose. That's a dream glow rose. Pristine rose.
I am persuaded that at the instant of birth, every child born has a greater potential intelligence than Leonardo da Vinci ever used. And remember, he's my favorite genius.
Shannon Stalker lives with her husband Kurt and their 20-month-old twins Whitaker and Adina on Lummi Island in Washington State. She has a particular reason to be interested in Glenn Doman's approach.
My mother, I believe in 1964, read an article.
I think it was the Ladies' Home Journal, and it told about this work that Mr. Doman was doing as far as teaching very young children to read. He suggested this little book, which they sent me, and it's called Nose is Not Toes.
Always remember the start of the book for some reason, but everyone knows that nose is not toes. I was a Domanite, if you will, by the time I was 3.
You've got what? 3.
In London, England, Mariana Upson favors an early start too. For over a year, she has been teaching 3-year-old Edward to read.
C-A-T? R-A-T?
Already, by some standards, Edward is reading at a level far ahead of most 3-year-olds. But he doesn't always respond well to the pressure.
Edward, isn't it? And that one? What does that say? Why are you crying?
Glenn Doman set up the Better Babies Institute in 1977, but recent developments in brain science have made its message seem more relevant than ever.
Many parents come here very hungry for the how-tos. Tell me how to teach my baby to read. Tell me how to teach him math. Tell me how to make him physically excellent. We spend much more time on the whys, on how the brain grows, why it grows the way it does. The brain grows explosively between birth and 6. This is the magic time. So if there's one time you want to make sure that you're arranging the environment for stimulation, it's during this period.
And Miriama is certainly convinced that the Doman approach can help her to improve her children's performance even further. She has booked herself into one of the Better Baby courses, and she is on her way to Philadelphia.
Knowing me, I'd probably take the whole house with me.
And Miriama is not alone. Shannon too signed up for the course, although her twins were only 9 months at the time. But she kept her plans to herself.
I haven't told that many people about where I will be going and what I'll be doing. A lot of people think, well, it's just going to be push, 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 or test, 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 or people say that they're too young, what are you doing? That's primarily one of the reasons why I just back off and let it be. I'm not going to change other people's minds. I think the end result will definitely change other people's minds. I think that my children are going to be far better off.
And Shannon's faith appears to be justified. Those who favor hothousing point to the rapid growth in the early years of brain connections. These connections are called synapses.
Synapses are really where the action is in the brain. They are the junctions between nerve cells. Nerve cells consist of two main parts, a cell body, and then a long, long process of fiber that goes off somewhere else in the brain. The contacts between nerve cells, between the fiber of one nerve cell and the body of the next nerve cell, where it transmits signals from the fiber to the cell, is called a synapse.
Genetics are responsible for much of the early growth of synapses, but experience also plays a part. Advocates of hothousing believe parents can accelerate the number of synapses in their baby by giving them extra stimulation.
I think early stimulation is very important. I think the more you expose a child to, the better and the more likely they are to be very open and very confident people, and hopefully it'll help with their intellect also.
But just as some synapses are rapidly forming, others, probably those which are not being used, are dying.
One of the apparent paradoxes in the way that the brain develops is that at first it seems to get more complicated and then to get less complicated again. That's judged by the number of synaptic contacts between nerve cells. They increase in number and then they decrease for a while.
There's a phrase called use it or lose it, which means that if you don't develop the baby's synapses, then it's going to be gone. You can't then, at 5 years of age, take them for special tutoring or whatever and expect that they're going to catch up. It has to be done when they're young enough and they're able to absorb.
In Philadelphia, the Better Baby course is underway, and there's a busy schedule ahead. The first day of the course is called How to Multiply Your Baby's Intelligence. During this week, Miriama and Shannon will also learn about brain science in order to understand the theory behind Glenn Doman's methods.
How very nice to see you all. Now, I think you may well find this week to be the most exciting week, from an intellectual standpoint, the most exciting week of your lives. The thousands of parents who have preceded you in this room have found it to be.
The course is intensive, 10 hours a day for 6 days. On Monday, it's how to teach your baby to read. On Tuesday, how to teach your baby a foreign language. Wednesday, how to give your baby encyclopedic knowledge. Thursday, how to make your baby physically superb. And Friday, how to teach your baby math.
I'd like to begin by having the opportunity of introducing to you the director of all of the institutes. I should like you to meet Janet Doman.
It's the tradition to begin this course by going around the room and simply asking each of you to tell us who you are and why you're here. If everyone could just state very briefly, you don't have to give a long speech.
You're not allowed to give a long speech.
I'm here because I have a beautiful 3-month-old daughter, and I would just like to give her the best chance to be bright and more special than she is already.
Hi, Shannon Stalker from Lummi Island, Washington, and I am a noses not toes graduate 35 years ago. I'm here to teach my twin 9-month-old son and daughter.
Great.
The 100 participants have traveled from all over the world to learn the secrets of creating smart babies. They've each paid $1,000 for the privilege.
I'm Vanessa Cintron from Puerto Rico, and I'm here because I have a daughter. She's 20 months.
My name is Maria Maturiapson. I'm from London, England, and I have 2 children, Edward and Justin.
The Better Baby Institute runs 3 courses for parents each year. But on the same campus, they also run a full-time school for children up to 10 years old.
Let's make x equal to 3 this time. We're going to substitute 3 for x. So we have 2x plus 3y equals 12. So we're going to
It's algebra by the age of 4.
2 times 3 plus 3y equals 12. What's 2 times 3, Virginia?
2 times 3 is 6.
So 6 plus 3y equals 12.
1/4 of 92 is 23.
And it all begins with a unique teaching system.
1/2 of 76 is 38. Oh, he says. And 1/3 of 51, whoops, I'm sorry, 51 is 17.
One of the amazing things that our kids taught us early on, now more than almost 30 years ago, was that tiny children can recognize quantity.
Look, that's 5 multiplied by 20 is equal to 100.
And as soon as we began to realize this, we began to think about, what does that mean? And we realized that we had it kind of backwards in the area of math. You and I were taught the symbol, but we didn't really understand fully the quantity behind the symbol, which is to say, you and I know the symbol 20, but we wouldn't know 20 dots if we fell over them.
If you look at this, 3 times 26 equals, does it equal 68 or 78? 78 it is.
So, for example, if we show that to you and I, we will immediately say 27. But if you show this to the tiny child and give him a choice, he correctly realizes this is not 27, it's 40. Because we're sucked in by the symbol, whereas he is not. He sees the truth that there are actually 40 dots on this card.
However enthusiastic the parents may be about the Doman approach, some realize that it's still controversial.
I do find out that a lot of people do criticize the system, the program. They say, why are you doing this? You're pushing your children, you know.
Well, you have to decide what you want as a parent and what you're comfortable with as a parent and do what you're comfortable with. And that, you know, you're not asking them to do it, you're doing what you're comfortable with. So
basically, you're not pushing your children, you're just encouraging them to do things.
But I started doing the program with him, and like, what am I going to do? Send him to kindergarten when he knows at least 2 languages, he knows how to do complicated mathematics, you know, so that he can learn the difference between red and blue.
That's why it's so exciting. It's so much fun.
That's why you're there. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Oh, yes.
Exactly. Even more questions.
Burning questions.
Most of the course members have very young children. Several have yet to give birth, which is good news to Glenn Doman.
It's easier to teach a 5-year-old than a 6, a 4 than a 5, a 3 than a 4, a 2 than a 3, and a 1 than a 2. And beyond 6, we learn with effort. And what a shame, the school system is set up just the opposite. It starts when the war is over, and in terms of the brain and the brain growth.
Doman is not alone in his thinking. Much of the early learning literature insists that there are cutoff points in the development of the brain, after which its full potential for intelligence can never be realized. This is based on a well-known neuroscientific discovery, the existence of critical periods.
What a critical period is it's a key period of time during development when a child has to be exposed to a certain skill to learn it. If the child's not exposed to that skill in that time, it's going to be difficult or impossible to recover that function.
Vision, motor control, and language are among the functions most effectively acquired during these critical periods. It's day 3 on the Better Baby course. By now, people have begun to relax. It's time for a few confessions. Shannon's not the only one to have kept her trip a secret.
I didn't even want to tell anyone at work. This is the weekend of my wife's and my anniversary. So it's the anniversary. We're going to be away for a while. We're taking the week off. And that was it.
Even though you're American and you tend to feel that this is a very American thing, I mean...
I'm very reluctant to talk about it with people that I don't know. They have things like, you're taking the childhood away from the kid. Why would you want to do this kind of thing? So we're very reluctant actually to talk about it with people that we're not sure how they feel about it.
On vacation, I'm at a girlfriend's wedding because it was just, it's easier. It's easier to tell them.
A lot of people think you're just bullying your children into doing something they don't really want to do.
That's the kind of,
but what a great bullying thing to do.
Today brings a chance to meet some of the Doman success stories.
Let me say a little something about the mothers and kids who you're going to meet. They are all members of our on-campus program. So just to give you a little background, these are all full-time mothers. That means they get up in the morning, they put a sign on the door that says, "Mother at work, do not interrupt." They take the phone off the hook. They take this just as seriously as any physician or lawyer or Indian chief. I think it's very important indeed. They don't see themselves as their #1 priority in life is making beds or changing diapers. They see their #1 priority in life is teaching. Well, first we're going to ask Mason Zeberline to come in. And Mason is 11 months old. He has an older brother, Winston. Mason's parents attended this course when Winston was an infant, and that was before Mason was born, so he's been lucky to be taught right from birth. Mason, come on down. Come on down, Mason. How are you doing? Come to the middle, and let me introduce you. This is the May How to Multiply course, all the student participants. Yeah.
Look, Mason, I have some new words for you. Here's some outdoor words. Sun porch, garden, driveway, sidewalk, mailbox, and the clip. He said, I'll catch the words another time. I'm sure. Yay, Mommy! Yay! Mommy did pretty well, didn't she? Okay.
Well, next we're going to have Virginia come down, Virginia Peck Phillips. Will you be performing for us?
Yeah.
A little something? What were you going to do for us?
We are going to do some Shakespeare and a surprise.
Oh, first thing we're going to do is a Shakespeare game.
Yeah.
Okay. The game is to pick out an excerpt, and you don't have to read it, and then we're going to you're going to tell me who said it, what play it is, and then classify it for me as comedy, tragedy, or history, okay?
That's a big challenge.
Who says this?
Mommy, the 3 sisters.
3 sisters. And what are they dressed as? What are they really?
Yeah, dressed as witches.
Right. And what play is it?
It is Macbeth. I just said it.
Oh, sorry. And is that a comedy, tragedy, or history?
Tragedy, because Macbeth killed somebody.
Mariama has certainly been impressed.
I would like my children to be like the children I saw today, because they're superb children. They're not just, they didn't really just excel academically. They were good in everything.
Music is deemed essential to the Better Baby program, and Glenn Doman is not alone in this belief. There is now much research which suggests that classical music will benefit children's brains, in particular Mozart.
I'd heard about the Mozart effect and decided that I'd give it a try, having heard that some professor had done a test as to whether Mozart's music does actually do anything, and apparently it did.
The first experiments were carried out in California. Students were asked to visualize a piece of paper folded like this and then like this. Then, with this shape cut out of it. They then had to use their special reasoning skills to work out which of the shapes the piece of paper would match were it to be unfolded. Students who had listened to Mozart's Piano Sonata in D for 5 minutes before doing the test were 30% more likely to get the answers right. Tanya feels Mozart's music has had a positive effect on her baby.
She absolutely loves it. I've got quite a few of the different tapes. I think she's very intelligent for her age, and you know, the fact that she walked early and crawled early and did other things, you know. I just personally think that the Mozart CD has had something to do with it.
But what does Mozart's music actually do to the brain?
We wanted to determine if there was a neurophysiological basis underpinning to this. This led to experiments that we conducted to look at the areas in the brain which are differentially activated while listening to different types of music.
The same brain was scanned from 4 angles as the volunteers listened to different kinds of music. The areas that light up denote the parts of the brain being stimulated by the music. A piano ragtime piece produces a modest effect. As does Beethoven's Férélise. But Mozart had a much more dramatic effect.
In the Mozart, the cortex was lighting up in a global fashion. There were many different areas which were becoming active.
But why Mozart?
Here is this musical genius composing at a very early age, presumably that he could not have learned everything at such an early age, that he is possibly then tapping into these innate structures that we are all born with, but he's tapping directly into those structures and transferring them, if you will, into music.
The publication of the Mozart effect spawned a multi-million-dollar industry in tapes, CDs, and videos, all promising to boost the brain.
Every day, people ask us how we got to be so smart. Music! Da-da-da-da!
It's true. Certain types of classical music have been proven to help a baby's brain develop faster. It's a scientific fact. Music can make your baby smarter. Just look at us.
Music is just one of the many types of stimulation parents are being encouraged to offer their children. The theory goes that a child's brain will benefit from a home filled with stimulating activity, a so-called enriched environment.
One of the claims you see quite often in the brain and early childhood literature is this claim that research has shown that environmental enrichment at an early age would result in children having brains that are 25% larger or with 25% more synaptic connections than they would have otherwise.
This claim comes from research on rats.
Other people had shown that if rats were placed in complex stimulating surroundings, certain parts of the brain would actually grow, would get bigger. We set out to determine what kinds of things were changing in the brain in these environments, an environment in which clearly learning was taking place.
One group of rats were housed each in individual cages. They were fed and watered regularly, but otherwise they received little stimulation. Another group lived together in a large cage full of toys and games. Greenow's team then meticulously counted the synapses in the rats' brains.
What we find is that the animals from the complex environment have about 20 to 25% more synapses in the part of the brain that's involved in vision.
If we take the mountain of evidence from the neurophysiologists that prove over and over again that an enriched environment grows the brain literally grows by use, and we combine that with over 50 years of our